Singapore is probably one of the most westernized cities here in Asia. As a European, it's the last place you would expect to be lost in translation, have miscommunication issues with the locals, or in general experience a cultural shock. Nevertheless, in this video, I'm gonna tell you about 9 things Singaporeans are doing differently than Europeans. 4 of them are simple gestures, and 5 of them are things you would do every day, like your habits. I had a few very awkward situations, and hopefully after watching this video, you will not repeat my mistakes. And if you are from Singapore, hopefully you will be more patient towards European tourists and expats. Hi everyone, my name is Roman and I'm a European expat living and working here in Singapore. Let's go! One of the things Singaporeans are doing differently from Europeans is counting from 1 to 10. In Europe, you would use 2 hands, but in Singapore, you would only use 1. In most European countries and Singapore, 1 to 5 is very easy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only exception in Europe is probably Germany, where you start counting with your thumb. So in Germany, you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In Singapore, when you don't count from 1 to 5, you just want to say 3. For example, some Singaporeans are doing like this. In Europe, this means cool, amazing, but in Singapore, this can mean 3. How many people are joining us? 3. How many coffees do you need? 3. In the West, it can also mean 0, but that's not the tricky part. The tricky part starts when you want to count from 6 to 10, because in Europe you would use a second hand, but in Singapore you would continue using one hand. So this is 5 in Singapore, this is 6 in Singapore as if you were calling someone, this is 7 in Singapore, they usually show it like this, this is 8, 9, and 10 is 10. So essentially this can be 3 in Germany or 8 in Singapore. Dear Singaporeans, if you go to Europe and you want to say 7, please don't use this gesture because you may get in trouble. One day I was playing a game with Singaporeans where I was the only non-Singaporean, and in this game each player had a number from 1 to 10 and you had to vote against other people with your fingers. So I remember Singaporeans were voting like this, like this, like this, and I was like, what does it mean? Call me, kill me. Are these actual numbers or are they making fun of me? And later I learned that yes, these were actual numbers. Difference number 2 is this gesture in Singapore. It means come to me, approach me. In Europe, when you want to say come to me, you do like this. You have an open palm and your fingers are moving towards you. Whereas if you want to tell someone to leave or to go, you do like this. You have a closed palm and your fingers are moving away from you. But in Singapore, you're using a closed palm and your fingers are moving towards you, which means come to me. In Europe, honestly, I don't even check if fingers are pointing to the speaker or they're pointing away from the speaker. I just see an open palm, I approach the person, I see a closed palm, I go away from the person or I keep going. In Singapore, it's the other way around. It means please come to me. I had a very awkward situation here in Singapore when I entered the bus, tapped my card at the card reader and kept going. My card did not work, which I didn't see. And usually when you enter the bus here in Singapore, you do it at the driver's seat so the driver can see whether your card worked or not. So my driver said something to me, I looked back, I looked into his eyes, he showed me like this, which means come back and tap your card again, but I didn't realize, I thought he's telling me no problem, keep going. So I went to the second floor of the bus, and most Singaporean buses, like in London, are double-deckers. So the bus driver had to lift his seat, he went upstairs and he told me you have to go back and tap your card again. He looked very angry and obviously he told me to go back, and I looked into his eyes and I just kept walking. Very awkward. Another difference is a heart gesture. Here in Singapore, as in other Asian countries, you would show heart like this. It came from Korea, it's not unique to Singapore. In many Asian countries people do this, but in Europe, heart sign is like this. When I asked the Singaporean, why are you showing heart like this? I mean, I get it came from Korea. He explained to me, well, this is how human heart literally looks like. And this is not how a human heart looks like. This is a very common sign here in Singapore. You can see it on posters, you can see it essentially everywhere. It took me a while to get used to it. Now, like the locals, I'm using it all the time. When I go back to Europe and I want to show appreciation or love for someone, my instinct is to do like this. And in Europe, unless you are a K-pop fan, you don't understand this gesture. So I had to retrain myself to show like this because Europeans don't understand this gesture. Another shocker for me was the folded hand emoji. In Asia, this means thank you. In Europe, this means high five. Like you're doing high five with someone. This means good luck, good job. And folded hands in Europe means praying to someone, not saying thank you. When you want to say thank you, you just say thank you. Just a reminder, this is an emoji, this is not a gesture Singaporeans will show you in real life. However, you can still see it in other Asian countries or places such as Thailand and Bali. In those places, locals will show you folded hands as an appreciation or thank you gesture. In Singapore, it's only an emoji, like in many other Asian countries such as China, Japan, and Korea. In some Asian countries, another thank you gesture is holding your hand at your heart. So essentially, this and this can be thank you in certain Asian countries. In Europe, to say thank you, I would usually use thumbs up or something else, but I'm not gonna use this gesture. The folded hand emoji, which is high five in Europe, is one of my favorite emojis. I use it all the time. When I moved to Singapore, I kept doing just that, and people at some point started asking me very cautiously, why are you keep saying thank you all the time? Is it something you do in Europe? Well, we know that in Europe you're very polite, but you keep saying thank you just like too many times. I was like, I'm not using emojis to say thank you, I just write down thank you. And then I realized that this gesture actually means something different. Enough with gestures, let's talk about habits and things you do every day. In Europe, if you're using an umbrella, you're doing it to hide from rain. In Singapore, you do it to hide from sun. It doesn't mean that there is no rain in Singapore, quite the opposite. Singapore has quite a long rainy season. It spans usually from September to March, and you can expect a lot of rainfall during those days. However, in Singapore, an umbrella will not save you from the rain because the rain is a tropical rain. It's very heavy. Just to give you an idea, this is a view from my apartment in Singapore on a sunny day, and this is a rainy day. In Singapore, every household has an umbrella, but they are using it to hide from sun because sun is very strong here in Singapore. Singapore is located just 100 kilometers to the north from the equator, so it's always sunny, it's always hot all year long. Even if the sun is behind the sky, it's still quite hot. I usually don't go out between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. because it's just too hot. Even if the sun is behind the sky, you can still get sunburned. That's why Singaporeans are using an umbrella. By the way, Singapore is not unique. Women in China, Korea, and Japan, they're also using umbrellas. At some point, Singaporeans came up with an idea of sheltered walkways. You have rain shelters everywhere in Singapore. Half of the year you can use them to hide from the sun, half of the year you can use them to hide from the rain. For example, when I arrive at a metro station, then I need to walk 7 minutes to my work. I don't need to bother about rain or sun because I do have a rain shelter above me as I walk. Difference number 6, or 6 if you will, is the fact that Singaporeans walk on the left side of the sidewalk or pavement. In Singapore, people drive on the left side of the road, they walk on the left side of the sidewalk, and they stand on the left side of the escalator. This is different from Europe because in Europe, you drive on the left side only in 4 countries, and that is UK, Ireland, Malta, a small island nation in the Mediterranean, and Cyprus, a bigger island nation in the Mediterranean. But 3 out of those 4 countries are relatively small, and only the UK really stands out. All other European countries, mainland Europe, drives on the right side of the road, people walk on the right side of the sidewalk, and people stand on the escalator on the right side as well. Even in London, though people drive on the left side of the road, I keep seeing people standing on the right side of the escalator. I think it's a European influence. By the way, people in Singapore don't say that they drive on the left side of the road, they say that their wheel is on the right side of the car. So when I say here in Singapore, you're driving on the left side, they're like, no, we're not. Our wheel is on the right side. I'm like, this does not contradict what I just said. I think they're just used to say that the wheel is on the right side. Before moving to Singapore, I lived in Ireland where people also walk on the left side of the sidewalk, so it wasn't a big issue for me to adapt to this here in Singapore. But whenever I travel around Asia and then I come back to Singapore, I see in Changi Airport a lot of Europeans taking the escalator on the right side, and they're just in general confused when they walk on the street. I can see that they bump into Singaporeans from time to time. So to me, it's very cute because I was like this in Ireland, but not in Singapore. Makes me feel like a local here in Singapore. Difference number 7 is taking off your shoes every time you enter your apartment or a temple. In some European countries, you also have to take off the shoes when entering an apartment, but in Singapore, you have to do that before entering an apartment. So essentially, you're taking off your shoes in the corridor where other tenants, your neighbors, can see you, and only then you enter your apartment. Same with the temples in Southeast Asia, Singapore included. When you enter a temple, be it a Buddhist temple or a Hindu temple, you always have to take off your shoes. As I said, it's quite warm in Singapore all year long, so you're not gonna get cold. But in Europe, when you enter a church, even in southern countries, you don't have to take off the shoes. It's actually very, very impolite, but in Singapore, impolite is not to take off your shoes. In Singapore, they have high-rise buildings like 10-story, 15-story, 20-story, even above 20 stories. So you have those large houses with long corridors and a lot of apartments, and in some cases you will just walk along those corridors. You will see a shoe rack in front of the apartment door. In those European countries where you take off the shoes before entering the apartment, you have shoe racks inside your apartment, not outside. But in some apartments, they even install a chair inside the wall. It's a foldable chair, so probably older Singaporeans, they can just sit down and properly take off or take on their shoes. Another difference between Europe and Singapore is the way people speak here in Singapore, the grammar they use. English is one of the official languages here in Singapore. Everyone understands English. In terms of English language proficiency, Singapore is at the top in Asia and one of the best countries in the world. However, Singaporeans sometimes use a different type of English grammar. I'm not speaking about Singlish words, Singaporean English words. They're different from English words. No, I'm talking specifically about English grammar that they're using in a Singaporean way. One of my favorite examples is people put the word can or can't at the end of the sentence. So for example, you call her can, which means can you call her or will you call her. We go to the restaurant, can, which means we're going to the restaurant. Do you mind joining us? Would you like to join us? Can you join us? And same with the answers. If you ask a Singaporean, do you want to go to the cinema tomorrow? They will respond can. They will not say, yes, I would like to join you, yes, thank you, or yes, I can go. They will say just can or can't. Do you know how to cook a cake? Can't. This means, no, I don't know how to cook a cake. Do you drive a car? Can't. No, I don't drive a car. Or can. Yes, I do drive a car. It's a very Singaporean thing to leave your stuff unattended, bags and purses, in public places before going to order food. Something completely unimaginable in most European countries, including the safest ones like Switzerland. Singapore frequently appears at the top of the list of the safest cities in the world. People in Singapore often leave belongings to reserve tables at the food courts while ordering food. This practice is a reflection of the high level of societal trust and public safety. And the final fact is Squid Games versus Hunger Games. If I want to describe a highly competitive situation in which people will do everything to achieve the goal, I would use the phrase Hunger Games. But I noticed that here in Singapore, no one really understands it. It doesn't resonate with people. So I started to use the phrase Squid Games to describe the same type of situation, and I could see that people got it. Always better to use Asian analogies than European or Western or American analogies. Here in Singapore, they're just more clear and more understandable to the locals. Did I miss any cultural differences? Please let me know below in the comments. I hope this video was useful irrespective of whether you come from Europe or from Singapore. I invite you to come to Singapore. It's a lovely city, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and I thank you for watching this video.